Now we're live. What's up, my boy?
Hold on 1 second. Retweet that shit. Hey, come on, join us. HFR.
HFR.
Matt, what would your badge have been if you were on the trading floor?
Probably BLU.
BLU. Not BUOY. I mean, you could have four.
Oh yeah, it would have definitely been Bowie then. I would have been
Bowie.
For sure. Would have been the
Bowie. I'm gonna have to get you a mock badge that you
Give me
can.
a mock Bowie.
Bowie froze.
Bowie. I would have been the Bowie in the pit. Always around the directions, changing directions. The guidepost. Absolutely.
All right, Matt, let's hey, happy Monday, everybody out there in the Twitter sphere, on Periscope, every place else we're pushing into the marketvitals.io community. I hope you all had a fruitful and enjoyable weekend. That's why you trade. Let's face it. Matt, I just wanted to talk. Let's kick it off with this one here. We talked about this and a couple of things. So it's the COVID-19 verification card for vaccination. Now, I'm a cynical type. You have to understand that about me. I'm cynical from the beginning. And the very first thing I noticed is, why are there 4 slots? Now, even if for COVID-19, the Pfizer vaccine, you need two vaccinations to make it safe, right away, I'm thinking, why 4? I don't. And the other thing that we talked about is produced by the Department of Defense. No,
that's what they're saying. It looks like to me, it looks like the same card that they probably used in the 20s through the 50s for your vaccines for TB and anything else, right? That the military was giving out, or the vaccination cards that my kids had from the pediatrician. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, why not? Again, if it's going to be accurate and connected to contact tracing, why not put it on your device? Why not have an app that everybody can download and certify through your biometrics that you were actually with your doctor, and the doctor has to recertify it with his or her biometrics? The technology is there. If you want to authenticate and make this legit, come up with something that the Luddites don't care about, which is a chit sheet. Like, I don't want to put my orders on your order sheets from the floor. I can put them. My computer takes care of all of it for me. I don't need to write them down.
Right. My other thought, and I don't know this, is if you have gone through COVID, do you still need a vaccine?
They don't know, Bob. They don't know.
Right on.
They don't know.
There's a lot of things they don't know, but again, from the cynical side, when you see some of the things that you've seen on the already warnings or directives, Matt, speak a little bit of the directives that you've seen.
Well, I mean, this weekend there was some information that came out and said, hey, if you're thinking about getting pregnant, then don't take the vaccine, because we haven't tested it on kids. We haven't tested it on or pregnant moms. They haven't tested on any of these things. And they also said, if you're taking the vaccine, then don't get pregnant over the next 2 months during the course of your vaccinations. So that just tells me that there's so much that we have yet to learn. Don't rush it. Why are we hurrying here? Maybe your frontline people need it first. Great. That makes sense. If you got 45 patients in your hospital with COVID today and you're treating them, you probably need that frontline protection, but everybody else probably can wait.
Yeah. I mean, I just hate the ambiguity on it. And the other thing that it's brought to light is from a regulatory standpoint, I think the Supreme Court already decided that at a state level, a state has the authority to mandate vaccines. And
so New Jersey came out Sunday and said everybody's got to take one. And they're the first state to say categorically, draconian wise, you have to take the vaccine. Well, again, I'm moving out of New Jersey if they say that to me tomorrow.
Well, here's the other thing I want to bring up, because I do think that this in particular is going to be a flashpoint for people. And this is from CNBC's Charles Payne. Firearm demand soars record high, 3.6 million firearm background checks, 35 million from up from 228 million a month ago, year to date. It's just, I just don't see how something like this doesn't become even more controversial. Like, people are like, yeah, you're going to give me that vaccine? Well, I'm going to shoot anybody I mean, seriously, that's how these things go. It's crazy to think that that's where we are, especially against a virus. If you're young and healthy, that you literally have such a low chance of becoming seriously ill or die. It just doesn't make sense, man. And my cynicism takes over, and because it's attached to my logic meter, and there's no logic in that, Anyway, Matt, what we talk a lot about, though, is all this is fine and good, but what does it mean trading wise? So my first thought was the Moderna stock, and it's obviously moonshotted.
Right.
But going forward in the next, 30 days for sure, 60 days, absolutely, as they deploy the vaccine, what happens to that stock if there are bad outcomes, which it's
Bob, it's not if, or it's not, rather, I don't think the answer to your question is if, rather it's when. And to your point, I think 140 is a key line in the sand, and we're trading 161.74 as we speak, up another 6% on Vaccine Monday, which is always a good day for vaccine stocks, by the way. Mondays.
Hashtag that shit.
Mondays for the last month have been nothing but the best days ever we're all vaccines every weekend. It's like, oh, what happened over the weekend? Nothing. The labs weren't doing it. I can tell you, everybody in those Moderna, Pfizer, they're all at home. They're done. This thing's moving forward, has been forced through, and the shots are coming. But there will be shrapnel from any vaccine. Always there will be, Bob. And again, if you've tested it on 65 people, it's not a big test for me. But that's kind of the numbers that you're looking at through some of these studies. They're really small. There's not thousands of people taking these medicines yet.
Yeah.
So here's what I say. I say we give them to equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans, and let's see how many of them we can affect, and maybe we can change those people. Let's just give it to since everything is politics now, Bob, let's give all the vaccines to all the politicians worldwide in front of them first.
Yeah,
all of them. Like, because the amount of federal employees, the amount of Congress people, and the state Congress, the federal Congress is so large today. I would love that. That's a perfect sample.
Yeah,
Let's give it to them. Let's give it to Fauci. Let's give it to everybody that works in the federal program that's been beaten to drums, beating us silly, saying this is the greatest thing ever. They should be the first, along with anybody in the healthcare side that wants to take it. I say go for it. Show us the way, you fearless leaders. I want to see it taken from the vial in Pfizer, by the way, where it comes off the production line. I want to see that. I want to see the stuff going in.
Wait a second. Are you trying to tell me that you think that some people might take a non-vaccine and say it's the vaccine?
Oh my!
You're not really saying that, are you?
Would a politician do that? Oh no!
Would a politician lie, Matt?
No,
never.
No.
All right, so back to the chart though, Moderna. So they can have some bad outcomes. They can have some bad news, but it better not get back into that meat of the value range. Otherwise, it's going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, it could trade to 100. It could trade to 100 if it falls under 140 awfully quickly. Again, on a daily, weekly ending price, it's all on the end price. But yeah, some bad news comes out of this thing, and you're holding the bag. It could go down 100. It could go up 100.
Right, exactly.
How's that?
And here's for sure, neither one of us are cheering for this to fail. No, I want normalcy back in my life.
Right.
And I'm skeptical is all. And I hope to be proven wrong. There was this one of the apostles, his name was Thomas, and the Lord loved him. Jesus loved Thomas, because being skeptical it's not a sin to be Some
Right.
people, I just want to see it. I want to see it. Anyway,
You want to stick your finger in his wounds in his hand on the cross also?
well, I would rather see somebody else stick the needle in their shoulder and give it a couple of months before I decide. That's just me, though.
I'm with you. That's okay. It's
All
your
right.
right. It used to be your right in this country to pause, to wait, to think about it. Let's
Yeah.
see how it goes. I think that's the right thing. I still think that's the right thing. It's your
All
choice,
right, Matt.
Bob. It's your choice, Bob.
Let's move on down the road. Was in another lifetime, one of toiling, where darkness was a virtue. Anyway, Bob Dylan selling his entire songwriting catalog to Universal. Good for you, Bob. Cash out, man. He's just like this. All in, yours. You get it all. Bowie did this, right? David Bowie did this, and I
Bowie
forget what he
bonds.
got.
Bowie bonds.
It was a jumbo cash out. God bless him. One of my favorite musical artists of all time, for sure. Bob Dylan too. For me, the original rapper. In that he had 90 verses and 7,000 words per song, and I always thought, like, how do you remember all of those words, all of those songs? Same thing I think about hip hop and rap. It's like, man, that's a lot of words to memorize. Turns out when you go and see Bob Dylan, he actually doesn't pronunciate any words. So I'm not sure.
Well, it's did he have a stroke at some point in his life that affected that?
You know what? I don't know, but he's like it's like you're at the synagogue. He's the Jewish cantor, just bobbing. And I guess
Robert Zimmerman from where was he from? Chasta, Michigan, Minnesota. He was from Minnesota.
Yeah, somewhere there. Anyway, Universal Music Group, French conglomerate, VIV, Matt, bought it.
They also make a lot of bags, and also one of the richest men in the world was the founder of Vivendi, right? So,
Vivendi Group.
Yes.
So
Vivendi, which owns Universal Music, bought it. I wanted to see how it, we talked about this before we came on. I wanted to see, I haven't traded Vivendi. I haven't owned it in forever. I've never even thought about it. And I looked at the stock and I'm like, no wonder. But we got a little spike this morning, Bobby. They took it up to 25 and they've already given it back. Again, this whole move that we're talking about is 10 cents. 10 cents.
Wow. Talk about a snore.
So, but let's look at the monthly chart on this. Look at this, baby. This is we're going back to 1988 on the left here. And here we are today.
Holy shite.
So,
talk about paint drying.
Again, I don't know what the dividend is. The dividend, it's 2.4% dividend today, Bobby. And the volume is traded 3 million. Normally it trades 3.2. So it's ahead of that, obviously, but distribution is going on. Distribution of the distribution.
Right. It's a nothing burger.
But here we can jump off of this and talk about what traders look for, right? What do traders look for, Bob?
They look for volatility, action,
price,
right? Action.
Price. So let's look at today's, and I'll take you back to the Vivendi chart in a moment. But this is just going back the last. This is the 1st of November over here at $230. $230 Spotify was trading. Today, $340 all-time high. Again, Bob, another all-time high. So you can find Bob Dylan's music on Spotify. They're paying for it. They're paying Universal now. They were paying Dylan before. But now you can listen to the same songs. You don't need to buy anything from Universal. You can listen to it and distribute it widely through Spotify, and it's much easier whether you're at home, in your car, on your phone, all those places Spotify works. I don't need an album anymore. Although if I'm a purist, I'll buy an album like Bob.
Vinyl, dude.
Vinyl, baby.
I'm hanging on to vinyl's going to be big again.
The point is, and we should talk about this a little bit, what do you look for? You look for expansion. You look for movement, up and down, two-way trading. That's the best thing you can look for as a trader. There's nothing going on in Vivendi. Let's go back to that chart again. But what's interesting on Vivendi is if you look back in the late 90s, they had their Spotify moment.
There it
right?
was. Yeah.
Here it is. So from 96 to, and this, you know what it was? I can tell you exactly what it was, Bob. It was CDs. We were rotating from and the internet. So CDs, internet, digital, it was all happening. All the hype was about around Vivendi, but they did not come up with Spotify themselves. And this is what's interesting. And this is why I can tell you the story exactly. This is why it went from 140 and it crashed down to $8 because Spotify came around right around 2000. You can jump on Spotify through a portal and you could get it for free in the States back then. And then they made it harder. They made it illegal for a while to get Spotify. Right. And then they finally licensed it everywhere. And now it's trading publicly. The point is life, there are cycles in markets, there are cycles in stocks, Bob. And these things don't stay frothy forever.
Yeah, I mean, we used to talk about on the trading floor all the time, not even talk about it. There was migration of traders between pits. When one pit would just go dormant, just go silent, just order flow. I mean, guys would look at each other in the pit like, how long are you going to sit in here for? Like, right. How long can I take no order flow, no back and forth action? I can't. I'm out of here. I'm done. I got to go trade something else. And not only was the locals, but the order fillers too. If there was no price discovery happening, if there was no orders to be filled, there's no money to be made.
Right.
For the order filler or the local. So that happened all the time, Matt. So you go to where the noise was, and nope, that's not. Hold on a second. Oh man, I'm killing me. Hold on. This is an easier way to do it, Matt. Let me just do this. There it is. I can't find it, so I'll rebring it in. Back to your point. You shared this tweet from John
Ehrlichman.
These are companies that did not exist 10 years ago. I mean, so there's a lot more noise. There's a lot more back and forth action. Congratulations, Vivendi, on buying Bob Dylan's music collection, but it doesn't make it a better place to be trading.
Well, and what's interesting about that here, I'm gonna correlate what you just said, which is the guy hanging in the pit, right? He used to trade chicken. All right, there used to be chicken fryer pits,
right?
And maybe at one time it was not. It was a little bit more price volatile, and you could make some money in the pit.
Broilers,
not fryers. I don't know. Broilers and fryers, whatever. At some point, that just went away because the price is pretty much fixed. I mean, there's a couple players in the market, and there's tons of chickens, and we got eggs, and we got chickens, and we're good. There's nothing new there. There's no new technology. Like there's no new Beyond Meat coming out of Tyson. That being said, that pit trader, right? He stayed in that pit hoping for the old days.
Oh, for sure. I mean, a lot of guys, you get attached to what you were. It was your identity.
Right. But that's living. This is why, again, living in the past causes you depression. Living in the future can cause you anxiety. You got to live where you are right now. Price included, price and volume included.
And volatility.
But this is what I'm saying. Price, volume equal volatility. It's
right. I mean, if you look at some of those names, Zoom, Peloton, DraftKings, Door, Lyft, all of these things.
Most of these names now are really pretty. They're pretty. In our day-to-day life, right? Everybody uses Zoom. Exactly. Everybody knows what Robinhood. Your kids all use Snap. Everybody's trending on Peloton. They're riding their, a bike. That it's not a new technology, but it's got a screen now. Oh boy, DraftKings. Everybody's gambling. Gambling's going illegal. I can go through them one by one. DoorDash, because we're all staying at home. We need food delivered. But they also deliver from Michaels. They deliver from Lowe's. They deliver everywhere. Basically, you don't have to go out. Just you have DoorDash. They're coming public here with Airbnb in the next week or two. These are the next unicorns. Instacart, again, they'll come public. Every name that isn't public already, probably on this list, will come public. You've got Coinbase. They're, the largest, garden variety name of an exchange where you can buy and sell your Bitcoin and your altcoins. Canopy Growth, marijuana. Hey, imagine that. That is going legal in every state. I can give you the stories. CrowdStrike was the company that, got involved with Facebook in the last election debacle, right? And the whole their artificial intelligence around us and our silos. So that company is, if you're listening to us, that company is involved in publicly traded, right? Affirm is a payments company that you get to buy your $1,000 iPhone. You can finance it through Affirm. That's, these are the companies doing these. Calm is a daily meditation app that I
Calm
use.
is great, man.
It's a great app. Right, we can go on, and Honey is a nice little add-on you slap onto your Chrome browser, and anything you buy online gives you a discount. You don't have to go searching for all the coupons anymore. Honey takes care of that. I use these products; they're great products. StockX, I don't even know what that one is. SoFi, again, it's a Japanese financial company. Stitch, again, there's all these companies. Snowflake, saw an article this morning or yesterday, how the CEO's pay plan gives him $95 million a month.
Man, I got to tell you, Matt,
Woo!
I'm not sure how I could spend $95 million a month. I mean, I'm pretty good, but that seems like a tall order for me.
Well, and let me bring up that stock here real quick, because
please do.
We haven't had the chance to bring up Snowflake since we've been doing the show in the last 6 weeks or so. But look at this thing, another new high today, another new high, hit 400 off the get-go. You can't get any better than these markets. If you're long, we are riding up into the end of the year, Bobby. Again, it's just so this just came public here in September. Came public that day at 250 trade, and which by the way was like a 10x already on the price. I think they priced it at 25, and it opened at 250. There was so much demand for this company, and today it's 403. So even if you bought it retail, gosh, you're making a killing right now. So we're not seeing IPOs like we did in 2000. Late 2000, companies that went public and just had zero revenues. I mean, these guys have revenues. It's a software. Again, software as a service. It's everything. Software's eating the world. We continue to talk about this theme, but crazy. And again, I don't want to chase stocks like this. I don't want to short them right now either, but maybe next year. They're good.
I mean, that goes to the point, you want to trade things that are moving. If you're, for us in particular, my trading methodology, I prefer a back and forth market. It's very hard to know the moonshot's coming, to hold on it. Where do you get out? I don't know. I prefer myself also a little more price discovery for my analysis. But the point remains the same on kind of like trade creation. And what am I going to trade? And Vivendi, it's not a tradable story as far as I'm concerned long term. I mean, it's a long term flat line to death.
No, and the winner is Dylan for taking the money and running, because it's probably the best. It's probably the best offer he's going to get, $200 million for your catalog, and he still owns his like the song rights. So this is just he owns the recording rights still. So he gets to keep kind of the master tapes, but gets to sell the rights basically of the music. And I don't know if you know this, there's actually a private company I think it's called Royalty Exchange, where you can go and bid on these types of products also and be alongside the Vivendis of the world and own a piece of Dylan. I don't know if Dylan's necessarily one, but
right.
I've talked about this in the past. There's a company called Royalty Exchange where you can actually put your dollars into these private deals and earn, royalty fees off of the future earnings of these products too. It's kind of a cool site, by the way.
All right, Matt, let's move on. Well, there it was. See, I just had to go one lower.
D game.
So Matt and I, and please, feel free to chime, to blow some smoke Matt's direction. A diehard Wolverine fan, and I didn't know what to make of this tweet.
And alumnus.
And alumnus for sure. Go fuck you, Blue. But Michigan postponed Harbaugh's normal Monday press conference until later in the week. What is this all about, Matt? When I read it, I thought they postponed it because they were going to fire him, but that's not the case.
Well, I've heard rumor mills over the weekend that they're actually going to extend and before the game on Saturday if they play the game. So this is the thing. There's two things going on here. Everybody, Harbaugh's head is you either hate him at Michigan or you love him. He was there. He was 2 years my senior. So when I was a sophomore, he was a senior in Ann Arbor. But, as I showed you, I was showing you some old paraphernalia I had from hanging out in Ann Arbor as a kid. And I met him as a kid just because my grandfather was, and was the president of the Michigan Board of Regents, which was the alumni association group, and actually had a vote on the athletic director and coaches back in the day. So my grandfather actually voted alongside Don Canham, who was the new athletic director that he went to school with at Michigan. They both, were in Ann Arbor in the 30s. And so he knew Canham and was the president. And they voted for Schembechler to come in, which was a very controversial thing because he coached for Woody Hayes at Ohio State. So most people don't know this, story. And then that went on to the Woody and Bo, 10-year war, which was 68 to 78. And they battled 10 times. And, it was 5 wins for Bo, 4 for Woody, and 1 tie during those 10 years. So what's going on in Ann Arbor? Obviously, Michigan's had a shitty year. Everybody's had a shitty year because of COVID, but Michigan's had a particularly shitty one. They lost about 5 guys to the transfer portal when the Big Ten said we're not playing football. So that really hurt. And they also had 9 guys graduate to the NFL that are playing on NFL teams as we speak from last year's team. So you lose 15 of your 40 starters, you're going to have some problems. And quite frankly, the cupboards were bare, and Harbaugh's had a rough year. I mean, he's won 2 games, and they've only played 6 games, and they've played 6. They'll be lucky to finish. They didn't play last weekend. So Maryland and Michigan both had COVID issues going on. So I think what's happening, Bob, is, and then Herb Street last week, threw up a hissy fit because he was like, Michigan's not going to play because they don't want us to get in. Well, guess what? Even if they don't play, and it again, for the safety of the kids, if they have COVID, you can't play. It's pretty simple. But even if they don't play, the Big Ten's they'll change the rule. The rule right now says you have to play 6 games, and Ohio State's only played 5. If they only play 5, they'll be in the Big Ten championship. They'll get in. They'll find a way because it's all about this, Bobby.
Right on. I agree with you 100%.
The Big Ten will find a way to get Ohio State in, whether or not they demolish Michigan, which they're 30-point favorites on the opening line.
I can't wait to talk to John hopefully tomorrow about that line, his thoughts on it. John Syndicate.
But here's why it is the game, though, Bob. National titles. Michigan has 9. Ohio State has 8. So don't talk to me about Oregon State, Alabama, Auburn. They don't have these numbers. Bowl appearances. Right?
What was the last Michigan football national title?
1997. I was there in the Rose Bowl, the 97 year, the year my daughter was born, my first child. And Matt
likes Michigan. I don't know if anybody got that leaning Michigan.
But look at this. Bob, this is like the 120th game this year. I don't have the exact number on my head, but they've played. This is a long-standing battle, my friend, and of serious trends. And right now the trend is so. When was the last? I mean, we beat them in 2011. But what is
the money? We'll talk with John. What's the money line on that 30-point favorite?
But let me just say this: we have beat Ohio State twice in the 2000s. Twice, my friend.
Wow,
3 times.
That's brutal.
It is brutal, but you can see this happened before when they had what's his name? The guy there. He was
Archie Griffin.
No. Those years were the Bo years. That was 50-50. But the year before, when who was the quarterback?
Art Schlichter.
Oh yeah, the gambler.
We should have Art on. Maybe he's a traitor.
The John Cooper era. Those were the years. John Cooper. They were great. They were literally 11-0 every year coming in against Michigan, and we would wipe their ass. So. I will give you this, especially in the era of
unlimited scholarships. I mean, that was just brutal. That every year it was just the last game of the year, Michigan, Ohio State. That was going to be there. I mean, I remember in '81, I went to school at Grinnell College, Grinnell, Iowa, and it was the year Iowa won the Big Ten. And it was it seemed like such a fracture of tradition because, that 10 years was still fresh in everybody's mind that somebody else could possibly win the Big Ten. I mean, it was, I just remember it. Go Hawkeyes.
Yeah. They couldn't back then, but the spreading of scholarships has been nothing but great for the game. So I'm all for it. The other thing,
and it's a bitter pill being 3 for 17, 3 of 20 against Ohio State.
Oh, it's horrendous. I mean, and we were, and now the spread has gotten almost even again. Michigan had about a 25 game series lead before the 2000s, before the aughts started, right? And Jim Tressel came in and just wiped us clean. And then Urban Meyer, and now Ryan Day. They've owned it. They've owned us, and but everything reverts, Bob.
Absolutely. It's a bad thing. It's a back and forth.
And this is what I tell my poor sons who are, even though they don't go to Michigan, they bleed maize and blue because I do. They feel for their dad, right? And my kids ask me all the time, why do we have to be Michigan fans? Because their whole lives. They were born at my oldest son was born in 99, the next one 01, 03. My daughter brought in the national championship, of course, the flower, right? She brings in the national championship. She was born in 97. Nobody else. Everybody else is just sitting there going, but I tell them, boys, but you are a basketball school for the last 20 years.
Right, exactly. Well, there's a silver lining.
I mean, we've had multiple runs at the national championship. We've won national championships. We've been in the game 3 or 4 times and lost. What more can you ask for as a fan? Right in the mix. That's all you want. You want a chance because only one team wins, Bob. Only one.
Hey, speaking of that one team, I got to tell you, watching that Bears-Lions game yesterday is excruciating.
Do you have the picture?
I got to tell you, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how sports can transport you back to your 5th grade emotional state. And I'm not sure I ever. And here, let me just tell you this. I don't think I can it ever goes away because my dad late in his life, he had a bad heart and he couldn't watch Bear games anymore because he'd have to pop the nitro pills. Like, he's like, I can't do it. I'm like right back to 5th grade. Like I was kicking dirt. I was stammering. I was walking around outside. Like, I cannot believe I have this emotional attachment to the freaking Bears still.
Oh, it used to take me a week, after a Michigan loss. Now that we've been losing so much over the last 20 years.
So you're desensitized.
And I grew up as a Lions fan, which I'm used to just losing all the time. So you combine those two, I am desensitized and I get over it in about an hour and a half now. But
all right, Matt, what else do we got? I just want to cover one.
Bob, I do feel like I did on my first away game trip to West Lafayette, my first plane trip. My grandfather took me on my 10th birthday. Michigan was number 1, and we lose to the Purdue Boilermakers the week before we're due to play Ohio State back at home for all the marbles. We lose. That feeling is the worst.
All right, Matt, we're going to whoa, the Beaksy Rocket. Let me share because I just wanted to talk. I got to be a co-host, Matt. Matt, you got to give me some powers like Yoda.
I don't know. We'll see.
I need powers.
Bob is Luke. You are not. Luke, I'm your father.
All right. Where is it? Hold on. Dead Space. It's the killer. It's the killer of a program. All right. The
producers in your ear. God damn it. God damn it.
So this is the daily. I mean, look at that chart. It is so flatlined on the daily. And maybe we've just seen the volatility for the year is kind of what tells me. It seems flatlined to me. You fractal out to the weekly, and we're just sitting here now inside last week's inside the weeks before, this week already opening inside that, right at the average on that standard deviation modeling. And back to our earlier discussion, when there's not a story to be told via the price action, what are you doing trading it for? Like there was a story for Vivendi, but then you look at the price action and you're like, all right, there was a story, but there's not any story in the price action.
The story was 25 years ago.
The story was 25 years ago. Exactly. This will for sure be a developing story as we go forward in the crypto space. Yeah. A lot of jockeying for sure. I guarantee you, well, I know this to be fact. The biggest money on the cross is between Bitcoin and Ether. But right now, there's no story to be told in the price action. So just another nuance of trading. You know, you trade things that are moving, not things that have flatlined. And you wait for the market, that price action to tell you a different story.
Well, right? even markets that are moving, and again, the continuation of the theme here, even markets that are moving go into pauses where we're not moving. And that's where doing your homework and your bracketing and understanding where the market could move, when it moves, when it breaks out of that range is really important. And that's why we bring it. And I think that's the gist of this conversation is even Spotify will now go through days after a big move as it's seen in the last week or so, or the last month, where it will then consolidate, it'll sell off, and then it'll find a next range, whether it's higher or lower. And that's the way the markets move, right? They inhale, exhale normally, and then they go through areas of afibrillation and defibrillation, right?
Market vitals, dude. We bring in that medical terminology because, we talk about that all the time. And believe me, that's what marketvitals.io is all about. It's a community of traders just having these conversations with each other about what are you trading that for? Or why are you still long or short that? Right. I used to tell people, what do you think about this trade? And I'd say, not with Mother Teresa's money.
But she didn't have any money because she was in the church.
That was she gave it a hard don't. All right, Matt, what else? Anything else?
Well, you just brought up something that kind of that prompted me to think about, a stock of recent that has been quiet and, then broke out, and that was Tesla, right? Tesla, before they got added to the S&P was kind of going through a dead phase. And this, if we take a look at that chart, I'm just doing it off the top of my head here, but it'll be good exercise for us to do. Here it is. We talked about this. And by the way, we hit another new high today in Tesla. Another new high. That's right. Did you hear me? Yeah. Another new high.
Another new high.
Another new high. 5% a day, Bob, keeps everybody away, I guess. But look at this thing. But here's what's interesting. We had been talking about this before the move, before the announcement on the S&P. And when the thing broke out, we said, hey, the range here on this megaphone pattern was about $220. Well, when we broke out here, that was 446. What's 446 plus 220, Bob?
666.
Say it.
The devil's number.
Say it. Yes.
The devil's number.
Going. That is where we are going. We are going, Elon, to 666. We're almost there.
I love the counts too, because they work. I mean, listen, you've been around trading long enough. Nobody would talk about the counts if they didn't pan out over time in markets, right? And I see it all the time. I see it in that meat of that value range.
Yep.
Being replicated for the next leg up, creating another meat with that same range, and it works on different fractals too.
Right.
So
super powerful. But here's a perfect example of a stock that was Vivendi-esque for the last 3 months, but was still in play. So you should be aware that when it wakes up again, it gets out of its dormant pattern, it will go straight up, and it's done that. So now, however, is not the time. It's too late. You needed to buy it when they announced it here. You need to buy it on the pullback right there at 440, which was the hard trade, but it was the right trade.
Awesome stuff, Matthew. As always, the prince of the profile. Mistrade, Matt Davio. Matt, thank you so much. Please join us at marketvitals.io. Join for free. Get the sheet. Join the community, man. We'll grow this together, and it will be awesome. Believe me. Accountability and honesty, especially around trading, where the zero sum is you're either profitable or not. For sure, you can benefit from an active and helpful community, and that's what we're trying to build. Matt, thank you so much. Anything else?
Hey, Bob, later this week, I want to talk ice rinks with you, so keep that in mind.
Ice rinks. Dude, pond hockey, one of my favorite pastimes, for sure. I just thought of this. My brother in LaGrange, Illinois, the park was right behind it. You go out the back gate of his house in a park and a frozen hockey rink, a pond rink too, no boards, just right. And so his son played hockey. He had a lot of hockey gear. His son played goalie for the Broncos, Western Michigan University. Another side story, one of the best things I've seen, they're playing Michigan, your alma mater, and he's not starting, so he's sitting and he's helping open and close the doors as players come in, right? Well, he's watching one of his players come in, so he opens the door, not seeing that the flow of the game was coming right at it, and the Bronco guy checks the Michigan guy, and he impales himself on the open door, and everybody's like, he did that on purpose. He like he opened the door to kill the Michigan.
Oh, it's a dangerous door.
Not necessarily a bad game plan if you can kill the guy.
Yeah.
But my nephew was like, I swear to God, I didn't see. I was opening it for Jimmy, who was coming off. Anyway,
my roommate.
Yeah. So the pond hockey. So come on over. My other brother's like, I don't have skates. He's like, there's skates by the door. Just pick a pair and put them on. So he picks a pair, and he doesn't know that they're my nephew's goalie skates. So he gets out there, and there's no edge on a goalie skate, right?
No, there's none.
And of course, we just demolished him, terrorized him, checked him. He couldn't do he couldn't do a thing. Good times, pond hockey. And we'll talk about it on another episode of Market Vitals.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
All right.